When the Prophet was driven out of his home in Mecca, and you all know the story, where the Prophet ﷺ, the threat came so close, was so imminent, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would reveal to him that the Meccans were planning an assassination plot on his life, that they would kill him in his sleep. And when he knew, he would share it with Ali ibn Abi Talib, Imam Ali alayhi salam, his cousin, his son-in-law, and tell him, "Oh Ali, they are coming to take my life. Will you sleep in my bed so that I may escape in the night?" To that, Imam Ali alayhi salam would say, "And will you be safe, Ya Rasulullah, if I were to do so?" And he would say, "Yes." It's narrated that Imam Ali alayhi salam would go into prostration and say 3 times, "Ash-shukru lillah, ash-shukru lillah, ash-shukru lillah." Thanking Allah for the opportunity to potentially be of sacrifice for his brother Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, so the Prophet would escape in the night. And Imam Ali alayhi salam would be that person to give for Islam, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And the Prophet would go to a land called Yathrib and begin building a new community from migrants that would leave from Mecca, the people that were with him there, the small group of individuals that were going and following the Prophet. They would follow him to Medina, what would become known as Medina, but originally called Yathrib. And then the individuals that were there, that welcomed the Prophet and became known as Ansar, the supporters. The Prophet emphasized something beautiful when he was building this community in Yathrib, in Medina, which was, no matter where you're coming from, whether you were with me, the muhajirun, the migrants, or you were here helping me and supporting me, you are all one. You are all together. And he would pair a migrant, a muhajir, with someone from the Ansar. And each person would have a brother. And each person would be paired, showing that now the brotherhood that exists here isn't based on your history, isn't based on your tribe. There's a greater tribe that unites all of us then and now. And that is the banner of Islam. That is the banner of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. That is the banner that brings us all together. The Prophet set that example and emphasized this amongst the tribes. The situation, sometimes we don't realize the importance of the historical context. In Arabia, there were 100 warring tribes, 100 feuding tribes. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam miraculously brought 100 warring tribes to form a new civilization. A civilization that had the potential not to just stay in its geographic area, and would activate that potential in such a short period of time that Islam would spread and people would accept this faith. And today, you and I belong to that community. You and I belong to that ummah. You and I belong to that group, that civilization that the Prophet initiated and continues to be inspired and guided by Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Ajalallahu ta'ala farajahu. When we look at the growth of this message, when we look at the movement of the Prophet ﷺ and what he emphasized, yes, were people at odds with the message of the Prophet? Did some people take things into their own hands? Did some people do things out of their own volition, out of their own whim? Absolutely, that's human nature. And the Prophet knew that was going to happen. But there was always Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam in the background to keep things together. Now things may not have manifested exactly or to the plan of the Prophet. For example, Imam Ali alayhi salam, a lot of people will go back and say, well, why is there so much emphasis from the followers of Ahlul Bayt on Wilayat Ali ibn Abi Talib? Why is this so important? And how is this something that is even going to benefit us? It's very simple. Some people will say the Shia live in the past. The followers of Ahlul Bayt, they live in the past, live in history. All they do every year is they continue to bring up what happened in Karbala, what happened in Ghadir, what happened that Ali's rights were taken, what happened that Fatima's rights were taken, what happened that Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein were oppressed, etc., etc. Some of you may hear that, correct? Right? The emphasis of the Shia, emphasis of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, is not to live in the past. The emphasis is to understand history as to see the future that is to come. If you do not know Ali ibn Abi Talib, you will not know Al-Imam Muhammad al-Mahdi. If you do not know Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi in what he guided his ummah with, what he emphasized to his ummah. Yes, even that small nation, at the earliest times, from Mecca to Medina, in its all of its development, there was a consistent theme. And there was a consistent pointing to certain individuals and certain themes within Islam. And this is what the Shia follows. Is what did Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell me to do? If I want to be a Muslim, if I want to be a true follower, a servant of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I need to pay attention. What does the Quran say about him? The Quran says, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى. He, Muhammad, does not speak out of whim. It is nothing but revelation. So when I'm looking back at Muhammad and he says, حُسَيْنٌ مِنِّي وَأَنَا مِنْ حُسَيْنٍ أَحَبَّ اللَّهُ مَنْ أَحَبَّ حُسَيْنًا, I'm going to hold on to that. Allah loves those who love Hussein. Hussein is from me and I am from him. So anything that happens to him, know the connection in your religion, in your theology, in your worldview, that if you are at odds with Al-Hussein alayhi salam, you are at odds with me. And if you are at odds with me, you are at odds with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the emphasis, yes, we have to remember Ashura. We have to remember Karbala. We see every single day of our lives, our worldview is dictated by that. But I understand what? Not just the mere themes of oppression and injustice, which are so important. And the Shia is always at the forefront of these campaigns against oppression and injustice. However, Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam taught me time and place. Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam taught me that I have to go back and see what did the Ma'soom do. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam taught me that yes, with Al-Hussein alayhi salam, La yawmaka yawmika ya Abu Abdullah, there is no day like your day, Ya Hussein. And Karbala, there was nothing like it. But guess what? Even after Karbala, the Imams continued. The world didn't end at Karbala. Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam gave the greatest sacrifice to save what? La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. But there was an Imam, Al-Imam Zayn Al-Abidin alayhi salam, who would continue. And the Imam after him would continue. And the Imam after him would continue. Until today, our world is safeguarded by the Imam. And the emphasis that we have, no Hussein, no Karbala, no Ashura, no Ali ibn Abi Talib, no Al-Hasan. So many of us, by the way, we skip. We say Ghadir, Ashura. We skip what? Sulh al-Hasan. The pact of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam with Muawiyah, which by the way, saved Islam. There would be no Karbala. This is why history is so important. Because it informs your theology. If you don't know what happened, you're not seeing what the context by which these individuals, because we have a living religion, a living faith. It wasn't something that they gave us and then they died and then we're just left alone. No. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam emphasized inni tarikum fikum al-thaqalain or al-thiqlain kitabullah wa itrati. It's living. The book of God is living. The Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they are living. I'm living with them. I'm leaving you with them. Hold on to them. You won't stray after me. This is the emphasis. So the Shia is not living in the past. The Shia is living in the present, acknowledging what happened and planning for the future. But you and I, what do we need to do? When I'm looking and I'm seeing Ghadir Khum, when I see Sulh al-Hasan, how Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam so beautifully, with his strategic genius, saved the Shia from being annihilated. Saved the followers from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam from being annihilated by Muawiyah, would transform a failing army to what? A politically recognized, a publicly recognized political opposition at his own time. So it didn't matter if you believed in Ahlul Bayt as your Imams or not. The Imams were pragmatic. The Imams were practical. They saw the circumstances. They weren't just preaching to their own. What they were doing was they were leading from behind. So even at that time, in the worst of times, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam were thinking about the future and they were planning ahead. So Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam did what he did. And Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam did what he did. And Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam did what he did. They continued. Now you may see, depending on the time and place, the Imams alayhim salam, they behaved differently. What does that mean? Were they in contradiction? Absolutely not. They were what? Assessing what is the most effective thing to do right now in this place to honor what? La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. To do what? To preserve the religion and preserve the faithful. This is something, by the way, that when I'm looking at the development of the community, this isn't coming from me. This is coming, I'll give you the books that where this comes from, and the scholars that this comes from, and the maraja and the mujtahideen that gave their lives over centuries to protect the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, to inform our worldview that continues to this day. When we're looking at it, we belong to a history, my dear brothers and sisters, a heritage, my dear brothers and sisters. I'm not talking about me being Lebanese, or you being Pakistani, or you being Khoja, or you being Iranian, or you being Iraqi. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a spiritual heritage that you and I belong to, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. You and I belong to that. Over 1,000 years of a history, and we continue to live that today with Sahab al-Asr wa Zaman. So how do I look at the community that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was building, and that continued to be preserved? Yes, even in a context that was not friendly to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Look at the beauty of Ahlul Bayt, that even in cities and lands and with amongst peoples that oppressed them and persecuted them, they stayed. So sometimes when we're looking, well, where do we go when I'm not in an unfriendly environment? You need to understand, what did the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam do in unfriendly environments? And I'm going to give you a small story from the time of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, our 6th Imam. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he lived in a very consequential period. And this is, again, another reason why history is so important. You see, the Ja'fari school of thought was crystallized with Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. Now you're saying, okay, Ja'fari school of thought crystallized Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. Of course it would be, because it's named after him. Who else would crystallize the Ja'fari school of thought? When we say the Ja'fari school of thought, we're talking about the Imami Fiqhi school of thought, the Ithna Ashari school of thought, particularly when it comes to jurisprudence. This is at a time when the Umayyads were at a decline and the Abbasids were coming on up. Politically, people were fighting for power. The Abbasids were fighting against the Umayyads. The Umayyads, they're almost 100 years of a history, of a new dynasty. Their dynastic rule was going down, was on a decline. Other schools of thought were being formed. When we look at the schools of thought, the madhahib in Islam, we have 5. 4 for our Sunni brothers and sisters, and 1 for the Shia. The 4, you have the Hanafis, the Malikis, the Shafi'is, and the Hanbalis. Abu Hanifa was doing what he was doing at that time. Anas ibn Malik was forming what he was doing. All of these individuals are coming together. What's so beautiful about this particular history, and you won't know this unless you read it, is when you examine the history of these individuals, you see that of the madhahib in Islam, all of them give credit to whom? Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Of the madhahib, of the 4 madhahib, you are either were a student or benefited from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, or benefited from a student of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam. The Imam was in a context where he was able to teach, expand, hold classes, establish an institution for people to learn their religion, their faith. It's said that Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam had approximately at one point in time over 4,000 students. Now I want you to keep that in mind. The Imam also had many companions that lived in Medina, that lived in Kufa, that lived in different places in the Muslim empire, in the Muslim nation. And he had some companions that lived abroad. All right, and I want you to pay attention to this one specifically. They lived abroad in what sense? Some of them lived in the Byzantine lands, all right, to the west. One particular companion, his name was Hamad. Hamad comes to Medina one day and he's visiting Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Hamad is bothered, right? Anybody here ever have a bad day and you come and visit a friend and you kind of want to vent? Anybody? Show of hands. Brothers, sisters. Anybody having a bad day? Sisters don't have bad days. Just the brothers, right? So Hamad's having a bad day. He goes to Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He begins venting to the Imam. Imam tells him what's wrong. He says, every time I come back to Medina, right? Every time I come back, people chide me. They mock me. They ridicule me. They scorn me. They tell me, oh, you're coming back from the land of the disbelievers, the lands that now are your home. You're coming back and you're visiting us now, right? He said, what else do they tell you? He says, they tell me that I will be resurrected with those people. That's a big statement, by the way. Imagine you're living at this time. You went to another place, right? Hint, hint, right? You moved, you left your homeland, and you're living in a place, let's say to the west, and you're coming and you're visiting family and friends, and they're telling you, oh, you've changed. You're like them now, right? The disbelievers. So Hamad's complaining to the Imam, honestly. And the Imam's listening. And look at the beauty of the Imam and how the Imam interacts with his companions. He's listening, he's listening, he's listening. Hamad finishes venting to the Imam. He asks Hamad, oh Hamad, he asks him a qualifying question. When you are abroad, when you are where you live now, with the Byzantines, do you remember our cause? Look at this. Do you remember our cause? He said, yes, of course, my Imam. Then he asked him, when you come back here, do you remember our cause? It's narrated that Hamad said, no, Imam, I don't. He was honest. The Imam, what did the Imam do? He told him, oh Hamad, you will be resurrected as a nation of your own and light will be beaming from your hands. What's the qualifier? For Hamad, for us, for them then, and for us now. The qualifier is, are you remembering the cause of Ahlul Bayt? Are you remembering the cause of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah? Are you allowing your faith and your identity to make you a better person, a better member of your community, your society? Are you contributing? Are you? Now I'll tell you this, on a practical level. You and I, mashallah, we come from many different backgrounds. You know when you are better, wherever you are. Whether it's literally here in Austin, on a campus at a certain university, back home, or in your homelands, for those who are from immigrant backgrounds, or from places that you grew up. You know what makes you better. The Imam is telling us, telling his companion, telling us, where are you better? Where are you remembering our cause? Wherever you're remembering our cause, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will resurrect you as a nation of your own. And light will be beaming from your hands. This is to inspire us. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates us. Surah Al-Hujurat, He tells us that I've created you of nations and tribes. And I've made you, male and female, nations and tribes, so that you may get to know one another. The diversity that is amongst us is a blessing, whether it's within the Muslim community or even without it, or outside of it. But what do you do with that? Wherever you are, do you continue to develop and grow? Do you continue to have the cause of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam inform your lifestyle? Inform the way you interact with your community, with your society, with your children. How are we raising our children? What kind of community are we developing for them? Now I'll tell you, my dear brothers and sisters, and I was sharing this with some of the brothers earlier today. I'm extremely hopeful in the future of our community. And it's seeing individuals like yourselves, with the diversity that you come from, and the backgrounds that you come from. The commitment that you have to living a lifestyle, living a life. We build institutions for Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. We build organizations for Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. We grow and raise our families in honor of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Even our children, we name them after Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. We are living for their cause. But here's the thing. When we start facing the challenges and we start getting pressed in different ways, things here, things abroad, do we still remember the bigger picture that we belong to? Do we still remember that, yes, I'm the time of Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, and I have not been neglected. I have not been left alone. My Imam is alive and well. My Imam is here. My Imam is protecting us. We are being tested. We are being challenged. In the smallest things and in the biggest things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests those who He loves. So when you're facing the test, when you're facing the challenge, don't push it away. Don't push it away. Instead, embrace it. And we lean on each other to be strong enough to take on the challenge. That's why we're here. Otherwise, let each person worship on their own. Let each person practice their faith from their home. No, that wasn't the way of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Instead, the way of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam was belonging to a community, staying with the community, empowering the community, praying for the community, uplifting the community. But you and I have a challenge, which is, what do each and every one of us do to uplift our community, to empower our community? Do we wait for others to take action? Well, what are the leaders at the center doing? Well, what are the leaders of the organizations doing? Well, what is this person doing? What is that person doing? MashaAllah, yes. Should there be a sense of accountability? Of course, in every organization, in every institution, in every community. However, the accountability is not, I'm going to hold you accountable and you hold me accountable. It's I hold myself accountable and you hold yourself accountable. What do you bring to the table? What do we bring to empower each other? And are we a rahmah for each other, or are we what? A fitna for each other? That's the reality, my dear brothers and sisters, and we don't have much time. Why? What's going to happen? What's going on? We don't have much time. This life is short. God bless you all. May Allah prolong all of your lives. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you all the blessings. Give you a beautiful, long life. But guess what? It ends. At some point, it ends. We're coming off from mourning so many brothers and sisters this year, even before the tragedies happening overseas. Brothers and sisters in our own community in Dearborn, Michigan. Again, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lengthens and prolongs all of your lives. But I've seen family members and friends and relatives, just this year alone, we're not even done with this year. And every month there's somebody that passes away. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. And I tell you, each and every time I see the individuals that know those people that pass away, their faith only gets stronger. Is it easy? No. But it's a reality check for you and I. What am I doing? What am I doing? I don't have much time left. I'll tell you. Your profession, your career, your education, your business, all of that, it matters. It's important. You should be educated. For the young men and women in the room that are in, who here is anyone in university, college? You should be focused on your studies. It matters. Any entrepreneurs in the room? Businesses? Business owners? MashaAllah. Any professionals in the room? Right? Excellent. Beautiful. Your business, your job, your profession matters. It's important. But don't let it be all that you do. And don't let it be all that you are, more importantly. You are not your degree. You are not your job. You are not your business. But if you have a degree, you make sure it's a great degree. If you're going to put the time into it. Your life as a follower of Ahlul Bayt, your life as a Muslim, your life as a human being, it's meaningful, it's important. So honor your life. You're going to spend time on something, spend the time in it. The Holy Prophet Muhammad emphasized that the community he was raising was a community that other people may have looked at them as little. Other people may have looked at them as insignificant. But the Prophet raised those individuals that were in bondage, those people that were of no recognition, of no lineage, and raised them to be what? Telling his people, there's no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab, black and white. There's no difference whether you're from royalty or bondage. All are equal in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna akramakum indallah atqakum. The best amongst you is the most pious, the most God-weary. So yes, go and get your degrees. Go and build your businesses. Go and get the best jobs. Compete. But don't lose sight of why you're doing it and where you're going and what you're contributing to. Hamad was a businessman. The companion of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He was a merchant. He went to provide a better life for his family, like many of you. What did the Imam tell him? Hamad, do you remember our cause here? Do you remember our cause there? Allah will resurrect you as a nation of your own. The qualifier was what? Do you remember the cause of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam want from us. And the desire of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is the desire of the Prophet. And the desire of the Prophet is the desire of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The connection is there. What do they want from us? They want from us to live a full, meaningful, successful life in all of its facets. All of it. And not lose sight of where you're going. Where are you going? أين تذهبون? Where are you going? إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to Him we return. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us this in Surah Al-Baqarah and repeats this. We see this, by the way, it's usually referred to as a verse of the funeral, right? We hear this is the verse that you hear in the funeral. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. It's a beautiful reminder, especially in tragedy. But dare I say, this is a verse of life, not a verse of death. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un is the ultimate paradigm shifter. You came from something, and not only you came from something, you came from the greatest. And where are you going? To the greatest. Allahu Akbar. This is the worldview, the paradigm that we operate in as followers of Ahlul Bayt and as Muslims generally. So yes, we want our community to be successful. We want our community to be educated. We want our community to be competitive. But what? For a reason, for a purpose, for a meaning. So that when we are educated and we are successful, that we are helping each other and uplifting each other to continue to grow. What did the early community of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ do for each other? We mentioned, by the way, we say, oh, if it were not for the wealth of Khadija and the bravery and the courage of Ali ibn Abi Talib, there would be no Islam. Absolutely. But think about that for a second. Khadija alayhi salam gave her success for Islam, for the community. She uplifted the community. Ali ibn Abi Talib, Imam Ali alayhi salam, his strength wasn't just a mere intimidation for those who wanted to challenge Islam. Instead, the strength of Ali ibn Abi Talib gave strength to the believers. So you and I, we should be strong. My young brothers, my young sisters, we should be strong. You should be strong. We want you to be strong. But not strong just for the sake of strength. Strong to empower others. That's what community is all about. You and I, we may not be united on everything, and we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. We don't have to be. We may not have unity, but we will have community, inshallah. That's what we're here to do. Embrace one another, empower one another, build on this history and heritage that we have and live it. Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, our current living Imam, the Imam of our time, is building off of what? Everything from his forefathers. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did he come out of a vacuum? No. It was a continuation of the revelation and the inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the prophets from before, all the way to Adam alayhi salam. And that's why you see Ahlul Bayt and the Prophet, we see it as a full continuum. This is an entire message. From Adam to Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. You and I, we live that. And what an honor that you and I have. That we live in this era. Yes, sometimes it may be confusing. And sometimes it may feel like, oh, where do we go? What do we do? But if you just take a step back, and you open your heart, and you open your mind, and you reflect, and you seek the counsel of our scholars, our jurists, and you connect with them, and you really have the intention of, with all of the confusion in the world, I want to do better for my community. I want to serve. And some of us, by the way, may have different styles and different approaches, and that's okay. Again, it goes back to that diversity that we're talking about. But if we earnestly come together in service of Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman to help empower and build our communities, the future is definitely bright. The future is so bright, inshallah. Actually, what I'm going to do with that, that's a good segue. I'm going to end here, and then I'm going to open it up to any questions, thoughts, feedback. Again, it's an honor. This mic isn't much better. No worries, Ali. I'm sorry, Ali. We're putting you to work, brother. God bless you. It's an honor to be amongst you, and I thank you for having me as a guest. At the end of the day, the work here is with you, and I pray for you, and I'm here to support in any which way I can, because you and I, yes, you may be from Austin, I may be from Michigan. We have brothers and sisters in New York and California and Kansas City and Florida, all over the country and all over the world. We as a community of Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, it's not just for a locality, but every locality matters. It's not just one city, but every city matters. It's not just one organization, but every organization matters. It's not just one center, but every center matters. You matter. So inshallah, with that, understanding our value, I'll end with the hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he says that the sanctity of the believer is greater than the sanctity of the Kaaba itself. So when you're wondering about your value, you're wondering about how much we should honor one another, how much you should honor yourself, know that the Prophet ﷺ provided you a paradigm, a worldview, that as much as we sanctify the Kaaba, and the Kaaba is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is our qibla. You, each and every single one of you, as a believer, you have a sanctity that is even greater than that. Does that diminish the value of the Kaaba? Absolutely not. What it does is it elevates you and shows you that you're beyond royalty as a believer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has honored you, has given His whole life for you. So honor yourself and honor each other. And be a rahmah, a mercy to one another, not a fitna, not a challenge, inshallah. هذا والحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة والتسليم على نبينا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Sure.
Okay, I have a question. You said it very nicely, that unity is difficult, but the community is possible. That's what I understood. So what's the practical step to, we are a very multicultural community here.
Yes.
We have Iraqi, Irani, Afghani, Pakistani,
MashaAllah.
and from all over the world.
MashaAllah.
So what's the practical step to bring this community, at least they feel a sense of belonging?
Mm.
Because some of them, they come just like for Muharram. Some of them come for Ramadan. Some of them come for Eid.
Mm.
But you want them to bring them, they do something that they come regularly. Because if they don't come here, where do they spend time? The TV at home or do some other stuff, right? So you want to bring them here, and they enjoy the time here, and they feel a sense of belonging. What are the practical steps? MashaAllah, you are very good in those information.
MashaAllah, you are all very good. I come here, I feel welcome. I'm looking at everyone is attentive, everyone is positive. I'm coming in, I'm shaking people's hands, saying Assalamu alaikum. What I would emphasize is do more of what you're doing. Do more of what you're doing. And perhaps if there are members of the community that you feel are not participating, maybe ask them, what would you like to see? Having these conversations themselves are not bad. It's not, oh, what's wrong with the center? No, absolutely not. MashaAllah, with the leadership of respected Sheikh Jafar, the leadership of the team here, and all of the community members and everyone coming, MashaAllah, continue to build. Address and acknowledge all of the positive things that you've been able to accomplish and build on it. And if there are opportunities for growth, seek the opportunities, get feedback, and continue to build. and do it with a smile. I would say one of the simplest practical tips is when people walk in, smile and say Salaamu Alaikum and embrace them like you really want to see them. Because I know you do. But sometimes, we're maybe forgetful, or we're busy with organizing, or we're busy with, what we're about to do, and, but that, more than anything, it's that being welcome, feeling home. The center should be home. Should be a second home for us, right? And mashallah, you guys are doing an excellent job. Keep doing it, keep it up, keep working, keep seeking feedback, right? Build on the positives. And anything that might be negative, I would take that as what's an opportunity that we have for growth? Somebody provides you feedback and says, the center isn't doing this, or the center isn't doing that. Don't take that as criticism. Look at that. Thank you so much. This is an opportunity for us to grow. Oh, the youth would like to do this. MashaAllah, let's take this as an opportunity to grow. Oh, the elders would like to do this. MashaAllah, let's take an opportunity to grow. We as community members, as leaders, and everyone here is a leader in their own capacity. You don't have to be on a board to be a leader. You don't have to be in a position to be a leader. Everyone here leads. You lead yourself, you lead your family, you're an inspiration to everybody else, right? How can I contribute? How can each person, what can you provide? You may have ideas, great, but beyond the ideas, what can you do? If each person says, I can do this, I can provide one bottle of water every time I come and hand it to somebody and quench someone's thirst. MashaAllah. If every person did that, no one here would be thirsty. And at the very least, that's a good thing, right? So it's this very, I would say, pragmatic, practical approach that I would encourage. Does that make sense, Hajj?
Yeah, but I have two follow-up questions.
God bless you.
The first question is that the people you're serving all the time, over time they become tired and they develop, to be honest with you. That's natural. Because if you're coming here and serving and helping, and the other issue is that the people they're coming here, they have too much expectation. They don't know, this center is self-centered, Some of them, they don't have this mentality that, so two issues. One, the people they are helping all the time, they develop attitude over time, become tired. The people they come here, the guests, they say, oh, I was not received with a happy smile. This is two, these two issues, I never understood how could you, control that.
All I would say, Hajj, to that, and it's a very practical concern, but we have to be kind to each other. It's not working. Well, can everyone hear me? I think everyone can hear me. No worries. We have to be kind to one another. Someone's having a bad day. Let's say I'm coming, I'm expecting smiles. I don't get my smiles. I give husn al-dhan. I give my brother, my sister 70 excuses, as Imam Ali alayhi salam instructs me, to provide 70 excuses. So look at it. Someone may be organizing and leading, right? They're flustered, they're having a bad day. They don't welcome. They should welcome with a smile, right? But they don't welcome with a smile. Then I come in as a guest, I'm like, why didn't he welcome me with a smile? Right? My responsibility and how I lead is giving him the benefit of the doubt, and perhaps maybe I can put a smile on his face. Say, Ali, how are you doing? Can I bring you some water, Ali? See how he's smiling right now? Look at that. I'm not a leader here. I'm a guest. But look at that, just the basic human interaction of kindness, right? And this is the akhlaq of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And then look, the person who's leading, who may be overwhelmed, may be flustered, they'll pay attention. Once that person is giving them that nudge, right, that kind nudge, and providing them that kindness, then it also inspires our leadership to do maybe not a better job. They're probably doing a great job. But at the end of the day, we're human beings. We make mistakes, we have slip-ups, right? We need to be kind with one another. If each and every one of us thought of, when I go to the masjid, what act of kindness, what act of charity can I provide? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's narrated that he says that even if it's a smile that you provide, you're providing charity. So if I'm expecting smiles, I need to be full of smiles, right? So I hope that answers it. My pleasure. Sisters? The sisters don't have problems. But there is a mic there, just for any of the sisters that do want to ask a question. Or the brothers.
Sheikh, could you tell us more about Mainstay Foundation a little bit? What's the charter? What are you guys doing? I know you guys are involved with our organization as well. If you could just expand on that.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. And Hajj Abbas gave a little bit of insight, and I'm sure you've learned with some of the activities from Hajj Abbas, who we're honored to have him as one of our members of our board of advisors. And our board of advisors is a unique board because we try to have individuals that are experts in leadership, that have a lot of experience, and that come from various parts of the national community here in the United States. And we lean on them for their advice, their guidance, and their help. We also have a religious supervisory board, which this board, which has 4 members, they provide the religious guidance to the organization and make sure that everything is done in accordance to what our scholars, what our Maraja al-Marji'iyya expects from us. And those 4 individuals are 4 jurists from the Hawza of the holy cities of Najaf and Qum, whether they're teaching currently there or graduates from those Hawzat. That's just, I wanted to mention those briefly to provide some context, but the work of the Mainstay Foundation is very simple. Work of Mainstay Foundation is very simple. We are dedicated to the development of the Shia community here in the United States. And that development has different forms. Individual development, which is primarily focused on education. Organizational development, which is supporting and empowering our institutions and our centers like your own. Idea development, dedicating time and efforts and resources to research, to understand the climate that we're facing here in the United States and abroad, so that when we're making decisions and taking projects and supporting the community, we're not doing it just based on, well, Hajj Jalal thinks this is a good idea, or Hajj Abbas thinks this is a good idea, right? The ideas, the research is extremely important. And then finally, humanitarian development, which we work with our sister organization in the United Kingdom, dedicating efforts for humanitarian aid and support. So things like water wells in Tanzania, in Kenya, in East Africa, as well as education programs and scholarships and support in India and other places in the world. So on the very basic foundational level, Mainstay is dedicated to the development of our community through these arms, through these facets. And in that way, we try to be of support and partnership in working together with all of the organizations across the Shia community. Because we don't believe that any one organization can do it all. Instead, we need to work together to achieve all of the objectives and the goals that we have, inshallah, in service of the community of Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Ajallah ta'ala faraj al-Sharif. Sure. And by the way, if anybody is interested in learning more about Mainstay and how you as an individual, your family, your community, your center, for example, Mainstay has over 35 publications, books that we've translated or have original authorship that's dedicated to the teachings of Islam in a language and a culture that the English reader understands. So not translating word by word. And we work diligently on this with the scholars and the jurists of the Hawza to make sure that their works were translated in a way where you're not just translating language, you're translating culture. So even that as a simple example of something that perhaps you, your families, and your community can benefit from, the books from Mainstay. Our website, mainstay.us, mainstay.us. And we're on most social media platforms, and if anybody would like more information, I would encourage you to reach out to Hajj Abbas, who we're honored to have him as an ambassador for us. He's a part of our board of advisors. Take advantage of him being a part of your community, and inshallah, I'm ready and willing to be of service in any which way possible, inshallah.
Sheikh, thank you very much for your speech. What do you see the main challenge for Shia communities in the US?
What do I see as the main challenge? I think one of the main challenges we have, because there are multiple challenges. I think one of the main challenges that we have is the challenge of identity. A challenge of identity. In Arabic, we call it Sira al-Hawiyya, which is this identity crisis. How do you manage between being a Shi'i and being a Muslim? How do you manage between being a Shi'i Muslim and being an American citizen? And how do you navigate the contemporary challenges of the time without abandoning these identities that you assume? Obviously, for us as Shia Muslims, our Islam, through the lens of Tashayyu', informs the way we are wherever we are. Look at the hadith that I'm mentioning about Hamad. It informs the way a Shia is. And there's so much to talk about this. By the way, there's a book that I co-authored with my brother and colleague Sayyid Hassan al-Hakim. And the foreword to this book was by Ayatollah Sayyid Munir al-Khabbaz, a student of Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Sistani. We wrote this book. It's called The Pope Meets the Ayatollah, An Introduction to Shia Islam. This book, though it provides a context of the Pope's visit back in 2021, in March of 2021 to Iraq during COVID, Pope Francis met with Sayyid Sistani. It provides a context, talks about it, but then further delves into what is Shia Islam all about? Like, what do we actually believe? Why do we believe it? What is this worldview that we have? Informing both Shia and non-Shia about this worldview. We talk deeply about some of the concepts that I mentioned here tonight. I would encourage you all, if you're interested more to learn about what I talked about tonight, where is it coming from, read that book. It synthesizes a lot of the information that is provided by multiple scholars and jurists that we've studied with into providing, okay, how do we see all of this today? Identity is extremely important. Identity in a pragmatic sense, not just a conceptual, I'm a Shia and I can have citizenship wherever I am in the world. You as a Shia Muslim here in the United States, as an American Shia, how do you lead your life? And what are you doing here? And how are you living here? How are you being in Austin? Is it better for you to be in Austin than it is for you to be in New York? Why? And how are you contributing, right? I would say when we spend a little bit more time comfortably embracing, having these conversations, we will get over some of these challenges. But the conversations need to be had. It's not, by the way, there isn't an extreme result out of these conversations. Some people were like, oh, people need to move to another place to practice their faith. Alhamdulillah, with the guidance of our jurists and our scholars, we are very well to do to practice our faith and be an effective community here in the United States of America as Shia Muslims. We do need to be able to address some of the practical challenges that we have and not shy away from them, if that makes sense. Okay. My pleasure.
Thank you, Brother Jalal.
Hi, Jalal. Just one more minute.
Yes.
I think he was very humble to say he is also a very good author. So the books that he has written are fantastic. And another thing is, a lot of people have asked about a professional Shia organization. One thing he hasn't mentioned is the professionalism that Mainstay has. If any of our youth are looking to get inspired by an organization, a Shia organization, that is very, very professional, very methodical, Mainstay is a good example to look at. And Jalal, and he's one of many, these are all phenomenal people, individuals. And so look at them, learn from them. They're lawyers, as I said before, but they're really, really humble and professional people. So do they have a workshop?
Yes. We have a series of workshops that we do around the country. The next one that we're doing is in Los Angeles. It's part. Yes, inshallah. If the community would like, we'll make it happen, inshallah.
I want to make one thing very clear. Mainstay doesn't have any membership, but we need to reach out to Mainstay if we want something. So that's very important. They have a lot of gems. We need to reach out to them. So just bear that in mind. If you go on their website, you'll see everything that Jalal talked about. And then we need to reach out to them to see what we want. It's like a toolbox. We need to pick what we want. Jalal, thank you so much, inshallah. We'll pray.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.